Hey guys, Moneyman300 back for some more Forza 6 videos here, and we are moving on with our tips and tricks, and we're going to be I'm going to go through the assists in a little bit more in depth when I rewatch the how to get better at Forza video. I mean, it's not that I don't like the way that I covered the assists. I just think there's more to say there in the assists because they're, when to use them, when to not, and go into a little bit more detail about the whys that it makes you better. I talked about, I basically kind of glossed over it and said, yeah, turn these off, learn to use it, and it'll make you better. Well, I want to talk a little bit about why it's going to make you a better player and why you should turn them off, and a little bit about some circumstances on when you might want to use them. So first off, game difficulty. So they have all these preset settings: easy, medium, hard, professional, veteran. Just go to custom, right? Custom allows you to customize every one of these. These don't, as soon as you put it on one of these and you come in and change one of these, it's going to change it to custom anyway. So put it on custom, and now we'll start going through each one of these. This is your racing line. This got the full racing line, the braking, and the off. One of the things to notice is the race bonus down there at the bottom, where you get bonus credits every race. The less you use here, the more bonus that you get. So I'm sitting at like a 67% bonus level on the settings that are here. But anyway, full line, braking line, and off. I use the braking line a lot, and a lot of people do. If you watch Race Boy, he uses the braking line. A lot of people use the braking line, and I use it primarily for a reference point of when to brake. And it's not necessarily, that doesn't necessarily mean right when it's red, turns red, that's when I start braking. I may go way deep into a line, may brake a little before that, but a specific line on that corner gives me a reference point similar to a marker on a track or a sign or things like that, which if you turned it off is what you would use. So you could turn it off and use other markers on the tracks and things like that, but I've always ran with the braking only line. I will play around and get more realism into it and play without any lines, but generally speaking, I use the braking only line, and I think that's fine. I mean, this is really one that's more of a preference for you on where you want to go. I don't believe that any one of these is going to make you better. Some people would argue that turning it off could make you a better player, but I think that's more personal preference. On to braking. So in braking, we have assisted, which will actually brake for you in turns. I really don't recommend you use that. We have ABS on and ABS off. This is where this is one of those settings that I believe that when you turn ABS off, you can become better at braking and have a shorter braking distance with ABS off. And learning how to brake and the braking techniques with ABS off will make you better all around in braking into corners and things like that anyway. So you should turn that off, learn with it off. There may be some instances way in the higher classes where ABS will make some sense. I don't ever turn it on. I just leave it off all the time. I never turn it on. I haven't turned it on in several Forzas now. It's really not that hard. If you're not used to it, you're going to lock them up in your first few turns, because what ABS allows you to do is just jam the trigger in every time. Right, and then that's it. And plus you may have adjusted your brake balance to 90% or something like that. Maybe running different brake balances based on ABS. I would turn ABS off, learn to brake, and then learn to tune your brakes appropriately to really cut down on your braking distance. We'll get into that in a future tuning video, but ABS off, it will help. Learn to progressive brake, or learn to go 50% on your brake instead of just pulling the trigger in all the way. Drive some laps around the track. Feel when they lock up and try to go right to that point without locking up, and that'll be your shortest stopping distance. So highly recommend that we turn ABS off. It will help. It is generally faster, especially in the lower classes, and you can see that in the leaderboards. That most leaderboard times are set without ABS. You'll see it occasionally, one will pop in there, but for the most part, that's the way they are. Steering, I use normal. There is also assisted, and evidently you have to have braking and steering together when you do that. But yes, I use this. Let's put this back to off. Normal steering gives you full control, but dampens certain physical effects when compared to simulation. So it eliminates all damping for a more realistic feel. It says, please note, this mode is difficult with the controller. I agree. It's really difficult with the controller, especially on counter steering. When you counter steer with this, if you counter steer at all, you're off the track, you're gone. So I use normal. Most people use normal. There are a few that you'll see using simulation, I recommend using normal. If you're getting way advanced at the game, then switch it up and go to simulation. Or if you're using a wheel, I find I like simulation with the wheel, so you can go that route. I believe it's more suited for the wheel itself, so I like normal there. Traction control and stability. This is another one of those similar to ABS that if you learn to drive without it, you will be faster. It will help you learn throttle control. Traction control is just a crutch for bad throttle control in most cases. It allows you to just floor it coming out of there, and then what happens is it cuts power to the wheels, and it's not optimal coming out. You're slower coming out of turns. Turn it off, and it'll just learn to feel when your car is losing grip and back off the throttle just a little bit to regain grip and then get back on the throttle. Ultimately, that's going to be faster, especially in the lower classes. You will also notice that most leaderboard times are set with traction control off, and there is a reason for that. It's because it is faster most of the time. Now, an exception to that is when you start to get up into the higher classes, start to get above A to S to R, X and P, you'll see a lot of people using traction control, and it can be so difficult in some cars to control the grip that traction control just becomes faster at that point. So there are some instances that when you get up into the higher classes, and I will use it as well. I never use stability. I never have. That applies brakes to individual wheels to help correct a skid. I've never used it. I think it's a waste of credits to even turn that one on. So at a minimum, go here. I would just go here if you're starting in the lower classes, like I suggested. Just learn from the beginning to drive without traction control on, and you'll be a much better driver ultimately because of it. And it's really not that hard to learn. You'll find as you get up into the more advanced classes that it becomes harder, but it's not that hard to learn. On to shifting. You may start with automatic. If you're brand new to the series or brand new to racing games on the console, automatic might be the way to go as you learn to do ABS and traction control. But I would, as quick as possible, transition to manual. And once you've kind of mastered that, go directly to manual with the clutch. It's not really much harder to do manual with the clutch. You can watch my video on a demonstration on how to do that. If you haven't made that switch yet, I'll link it up here, and you can do that next. Highly recommend you get here. It is faster to do manual with the clutch. You will find that almost all leaderboard times are set with manual with the clutch. Very few with automatic. You might get a few with just manual. So overall, this is another one. It's going to make you faster. The manual switching is going to make you a better driver because you're able to control the gears that you're in going in and coming out of corners, and your shift points for different engines. But the manual with the clutch is going to shift faster, and overall just going to be much quicker. The last two that we have here that we'll cover, that's up to you. You get a nice little 10% bonus on each one. I generally run cosmetic and rewind on, unless I'm running single player or other things that I may turn simulation on and rewind off. But when I'm running special rivals and I want to hit a turn several times to try to find the best line into a turn, I like to have rewind so I can keep rerunning that same turn over and over. So, but those are completely your preference and really have nothing to do with whether you'll be a better driver or not. So hopefully this helps. Just try to give you a better picture overall of the assists, what assists to use, which ones can help you to become a better driver, and which ones can help you to be faster and are actually faster than having the assists on. So that's the assists. We're going to be moving on quickly. Hopefully some more tips and tricks with a build video coming up next. Anyways, I'm going to end it with that. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.